Hello, guys. Welcome to this new edition of Mind Podcast. This is Aadit Kapadia coming back to you, yes, as I promised you, with a shorter break than last time. And I have a fantastic podcast set up. We'll have our full podcast in a few days as well and stuff. But this one's a special podcast, and we really wanted to bring this to you today because it is a momentous day for all Indians. Special all Indian, servicemen, and especially amongst the servicemen, naval officers as well, because it's a very important day where we have the commissioning of INS Vikrant, the glorious, in the tradition of the glorious INS Vikrant, that the stories what we had heard about that earlier, and what we are going to, how big of an engineering marvel it is, and basically what it means for India and why it puts us in the elite league of naval countries with naval presence, with fantastic fighting capabilities and so forth, which we hope we never have to use, but we are prepared now. And then we have the Indian Navy's new ensign, which was revealed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Kochi on the commissioning of along the sidelines of the commissioning of INS Vikrant, which became the first career to have that on it. So with me to talk about it is naval officer, ex-naval officer, analyst, defense analyst, author, and a good friend of ours at Mindmakers, Manan Bhatt. Manan Bhai, thank you so much for joining. First of all, thank you for your service and all you've done for us. But I mean, if our happiness is at a 95 to 100% level, I can't even imagine your threshold. So please, talk about what it means to you as someone who served in the Navy, and as someone who's looking at it as an analyst, as a proud Indian. What does it feel?
Yeah, thank you, Aadit. It's an honor to be here. It is always an honor to be on Mindmakers.
Thank you.
Now, it was indeed an honor for me to have served the Indian Navy, to have the opportunity to serve the Indian Navy, and I was fortunate to serve on board INS Virat for a few months. I was there on a deputation, and it was indeed a humongous ship that ran on steam power, basically. Now as now we have Vikrant. It is a momentous day for me today, as a veteran, as a naval veteran, and as a naval veteran who has served on board a carrier. But having a carrier in your arsenal is a big thing for any country. It does a lot of power projection for a country, and in particularly for India. If I may focus, if I may talk about India, there is a huge pressure on India to be the power it has been in the Indian Ocean region, to do some power projection in the backyard of China, what we call in Pacific Ocean, or you may call it the South China Sea. China has been very hegemonious and putting nations at the brink. China is pressurizing Taiwan nowadays like anything, even after Nancy Pelosi's visit. And looking at the scenario in the Russia and Ukraine war, we all know that China is very well capable of engulfing Taiwan and they may try to do that. So in this volatile scenario, when the world is world has turned into a multipolar world, Indian Navy is the service provider, the sole net service provider, I should say, for the Indian Ocean region. And in this case scenario, Indian Navy is built. Our forefathers, the naval forefathers, have built the Indian Navy, being a two-carrier navy, at least a two-carrier navy, and with the global trade increasingly depending upon the oceans. 66% of the global seagoing trade passing through Indian Ocean region, and the Indian Navy being endowed with the responsibility of providing security to the trade sea lines of communication in Indian Ocean region. We have to be at our very best and to have two carrier strike groups uh, operating simultaneously in the Arabian Sea and as well as in the IOR, it is going to be it is going to be a huge advantage, huge
Yeah.
advantage, not only for the Indian Navy but also for the global trade.
Absolutely, and the reason, just to and we'll talk about it a little bit. The reason I said in the glorious tradition of INS Vikrant is because the earlier version obviously played a huge role in the Indo-Pak War of 1971, and then it was decommissioned, and now I think it's as a museum in Cuff Parade, Bombay, in since 2012, and then post, I think, sorry, it was until 2012, and then after 2014 it was sold through an online auction and so forth. So that's why I said that I use the term in case our people are wondering. But I think it's we'll go a little bit about we'll talk a little bit about what it means as for Indian Navy, because I read reports this morning and we were talking about it even on CNN, Reuters, BBC. A surprisingly fair report. CNN had a very balanced report on what it means for Indian Navy and why it now puts Indian Navy in an elite league. And what CNN said was that what that report said was, at least, because again, the Indian reports are terrific and people have read it, but I also want to sort of talk about what it means at a global scale. What it was talking about was that even though China may have superior ships, India has had experience, operative experience, which does not, you can't replace that, right? And that has been more than China. So now, not only has India has a ship, to use the Indian word, jo takkar de sakta hai China ko, we also have the operating experience, so it gives a big thing. And now I think America, even President Joe Biden is doubling down on Quad, right? With the tragic passing away of Shinzo Abe, we thought that would, was that a drawback to Quad? I don't think so. I think is one of his biggest legacies. Quad is being taken to the next level, and INS Vikrant is very important for that. So, can you talk a little bit about, on the technical side, what it empowers, and then also on the strategic side what it means? And while you're talking, I'll also share a few pictures of INS Vikrant with our viewers. So yes, please.
टेक्निकली अगर देखा जाए तो प्राइमरीली बाय टू develop and to design and develop an aircraft carrier right from the scratch was a big challenge for India, not only for Indian Navy but for India. We did the design, we did work on the design for almost 2 to 3 years, and the design came up. It was a developing design. So the CSL, the Cochin Shipyard Limited, the shipbuilders who built the aircraft carrier, they never had any previous experience of building an aircraft carrier, a ship so humongous that the mankind has never built ships bigger than this. These are the biggest military platforms ever built on Earth. So to build a ship of that capacity, that power, a lot of work had to be carried out. We although we invited and took help from many international experts, but most of the work, most of the technical details, most of the specifications in the aircraft carrier were carried out by Indians. Almost 76% of the aircraft carrier is Indian. The main engines, if I may say, are GE make. So in future, India is looking to even start making the engines indigenously. So it was indeed a big challenge. While CSL went through building the aircraft carrier, but they did not plan for quite a few things which came in their way, and as it was a ongoing design which Navy wanted to incorporate and make changes as time changed, because way back in 2004 it was envisaged, the design was finalized, then it has with the time, with the with the coming of time, the design had to be modified, and eventually now we have a carrier that can entirely be controlled from a control station from a single control station. In earliest aircraft carriers, most of the aircraft carriers were mostly manual. Either they were automatic in the initial stages, and at a later date you have to make them manual, because they were mostly old aircraft carriers which were brought from Britain or other countries.
Yeah, so this is very important, and it's a departure from that tradition.
Indeed, it is a departure from that tradition. And basically, the previous aircraft carriers that we had, they had steam engines. They used to run on steam turbines. Now this particular aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant, which has now been commissioned. It has 4 gas turbine engines, which gives the carrier huge power altogether, and run simultaneously together. They give the top speed of 28 knots, and it was achieved. The success of sea trials was something which was achieved in the very first sea trial. So it has never happened that when you are going for first sea trials of a huge ship, and suddenly you have in the very first trial you succeed. Initially, also while building this ship, there were a lot of challenges. We never had the steel. India had never manufactured the steel which has the carrier grade steel, which I should say. To build the steel, we initially thought of giving Russia the order to and import the steel from carrier grade steel from Russia. But eventually, what happened was Russia quoted so much higher price, and the delivery deadline were also, they were not agreed to meet with the delivery deadlines that India wanted. Eventually, the Steel Authority of India chipped in, and they agreed to make for the first time. It was for the first time for them also, but they eventually agreed to make the steel that was required, the carrier grade steel that was required to be made, and eventually, as we see that so many MSMEs, around 500 of the Indian companies which were involved in making this aircraft carrier a reality, and integrate all the systems that are brought from different companies, and integrate them into an aircraft carrier, integrate them into a huge machine, was a challenge, and it has been accomplished today.
And it's a terrific. As I was showing pictures, I felt like almost we were doing a news show. Ki side mein the pictures were rolling, but I wanted everyone to see what a stunning design this was, and how beautifully it was. And I want to have one question. I think it's a $3 billion ship, right? It's unbelievable what we've done. The $3 billion aircraft carrier, and it's, I think, the displacement of about 40,000 tons. It's only a little smaller than the Vikramaditya and the carriers of US, China, and UK. But let's talk about its turbine engines. I think the top speed, it goes at 32 miles an hour and has a range of almost 13,890 kilometers, almost 8,500 to 8,600 miles. So it's quite fantastic. It can carry up to 30 aircrafts. So this is like a huge new step. Now let me ask you something, right? It's not easy to have a INS, to have an aircraft carrier. We had the first, which was first Vikrant, then Virat, that you served on. I think it was decommissioned in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And exactly, and then this one, I think it was 2003 or something is when we first sort of did the design and stuff, and it almost took us close to 2 decades, to finally get us to this point. So it's a long process. It has its own bureaucratic hurdle. It has, you have to go through engineering feeds, tests, safety mechanisms, all sorts of things. But it takes like a whole village essentially to build a career like that. So, and especially with challenges that India has in terms of financial challenges, we went through global recessions in between, we went through multiple government changes and so forth. So that results in policy changes. How does one keep continuing to get the morale, continuing to go on this project, if you know what I mean? Like, how do you keep going on this project given so many variables outside?
I must say that since 1980s, Navy has envisaged itself as the builder's navy. We are the first service to start the project of to look towards indigenization in defense, and we have been building indigenous ships. A few of the parts here and there, engines and all, we have been bringing them from outside, but mostly we are building ships in India only. Mazgaon Docks Limited, Cochin Shipyard. There are GRSC. There are shipyards which are making ships and submarines for India. I must say that INS Arihanta, that is the India's first nuclear submarine. That project took almost 35 years to complete, but it was entirely designed and developed in India only. A few parts here and there were brought from outside. Some technical help was sought from friendly countries, but this is what we have been doing. Indian Navy has been the pioneer in made in India. Be any challenge come, we are scheduling our manufacturing in such a way that the budget, some part of budget is kept aside for building new ships, submarines, and eventually what happens is when you make in India, when you make a weapon in India, when you make platforms in India, the amount of money goes from one pocket to another. It doesn't go outside. It actually
stays in the system.
It stays within the system and increases your GDP. The biggest asset for INS Vikrant will be its aircraft, because basically it is an aircraft carrier. We are posting as a stopgap arrangement. We are going to have some MiG-29s for the ship, but for a broader perspective, I must say that the country has already given go ahead. Prime Minister has already given go ahead to build twin engine deck based fighters for Vikrant. That will be a naval version of India's indigenous aircraft, the LCA Tejas, which is lauded all across the board, be it USA, be it countries from Asia. They are lauding Tejas as an achievement. It is an old platform which is given go ahead, which is given enough funding, and it is LCA Mk2, LCA Mk1, and twin engine deck based aircraft. They are the future technology. They are the future platforms which will be operated from this aircraft carrier.
On a lighter note, Manan Bhai, I think it's quite interesting and an achievement for the Navy itself that it got 500 Indian firms to come and they did not fight amongst each other. I think that coordination itself is unbelievable. I mean, I want to see the person who was sourcing, because 76% of the ship's parts were sourced indigenously. And, I'm an engineer myself. And I don't remotely work on anything this complex, but even in the projects I do work on, I know how hard it is, to put all the parts together, to put sourcing together, to do it in such a way on a government project, where you have to be cognizant of the budget in a very different sort of way, right? It's not like the private sector. You all have to write reports, you have to write, multiple things. And like I said, you have government changes, ministerial changes, you have bureaucratic changes. How do you deal with that? And I want people to sink in, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, we all talk about it. I don't think the people have had an appropriate comprehension of what it took to come to this stage. I'm not saying everyone hasn't, but because, when we look at the pictures, and it absolutely looks glorious, it looks stunning, right? So we are only looking at the finished product. We are not looking at the 19-year journey, which went from engineering design to procurement, to parts, to construction, to management, to delivery. And that's something that's quite amazing. And you have been on a warship, so like the level of like the tolerance of error is almost next to nil. Even a 0.01% error could lead to catastrophic consequences when it's deployed.
Definitely. While building or operating any military platform, you need zero error. And to integrate 500 components from 500 companies into a single operating system must have been a very big challenge for. And as I once I visited INS Vikrant facility in Cochin shipyard, and I saw people from across the country working on board the aircraft. People from Kirloskar, which is primarily a Maharashtrian brand, they were working on the pumps. They are basically the
Wow.
pioneer leaders in pumps and motors. So they were working on pumps. People from Punjab, people from Ludhiana were there, people from Gujarat were there, people from every corner of country were working in Kochi, which is situated in South India. So it is an effort. It is a victory of entire country and challenges. Let me tell you, every moment was a challenge. Even inserting the shaft inside the carrier was a huge challenge. आपने जहाज बना लिया, and now you have to insert 100-meter long shaft. How do you do that?
How do you do that?
छोटा
Absolutely.
a rigger whose name was Mr. Manoharan KK. He came up with an idea. He designed the jigs and fixtures to act as a trolley for the shaft insertion, and used materials which were already there in CSL. This is how they inserted it, because you build a ship in a dry dock, and now you are faced with a challenge कि आप उसमें इतना बड़ा shaft कैसे घुसाएंगे. That is also without error. So every moment, every step was a challenge, but it was
Like I always say, don't ever discount the efficiency of the great Indian Jugaad, because we think we talk of it as a very small thing, but we can actually do it. And I mean, don't forget Vikram Sarabhai and Homi Baba, how they launched one of the rockets in Sriharikota. They manually transported it and did it. I mean, it's unbelievable. So it can, it can happen, and it's the ability to think, at the last minute. So I want to now, last 5 minutes. I know, Manan bhai, we have very limited time, and I'm grateful for all the time you've given us today. I know you're very busy today, but I want just to talk like less than 5 minutes about the new ensign of the Indian Navy. This obviously is the naval ensign of India, the new logo. It's a fantastic, I mean, it's a beautiful logo, the Indian flag in this, the national emblem, and it takes inspiration from the naval fleet of Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and and it has the Shano Varuna, the Indian Navy logo as well. So what does this, I'll go through as you're talking about this logo, I'll go through the historic logos as well, but if you can talk a little bit about this logo and the history of logos and so forth.
Yeah, I must say that, let me start with the earlier logo. When it was a Royal Indian Navy from say 1879 to 1928, it had a different logo, which had BCCI like symbol of sun.
Actually, that's true. It is very similar to a BCCI symbol. I never thought about that. Sorry, I was like, wow, so interesting.
Yeah, and on the left of it, they had the Union Jack. From 1928 to 1947, it was it had all the British Navy ships, or the Indian Navy also, Royal Indian Navy, as it was called, RIN. It had the St. George cross in this, covering the entire flag in across, and on the left of it, it had the Union Jack. Now, till 1950, there was no Indian Navy. It was still the RIN. So India's on the first mast, as India was liberated, on the forecastle of the ship, you had India's flag being hoisted, and on the aft you had the Union Jack and the same old St. George cross. In the 1950, it was Indian Navy was envisaged. Indian Navy was named. Eventually, British handed over some of the ships to us, some of the ships to the Pakistanis, and Indian Navy came into effect. As Indian flag had replaced Union Jack, but the cross remained. उसके बाद में in 2001 it was decided कि let us remove this cross and have only the naval emblem on the right side. So the cross was removed. I was there in the service. but there were complaints that in the international waters the emblem doesn't is not reflecting as it was in blue in color, light blue in color, and the ocean was also blue. So there was an issue of recognition of Indian Navy from the flag, because when you are at sea, the flag never taken down. It always remain hosted, be it day or night. So there was an issue, so it was taken down, and again we reverted to St. George's Cross, so that Indian Navy का जो identity है, it remains there internationally. It was said, and the cross was embossed in the center with the national emblem. After a year or so, it was decided that national emblem is not complete without the Satyamev Jayate, so it was added after some time. But this time, today, a historic decision was taken, and eventually we have Maharaja Shivaji Raje's Raj Mudra. उसका जो the shape of Raj Mudra was shown, and it is the shape and the idea of Shivaji, great Shivaji Raje, the India's first, I think it was Shivaji Raje and Cholas who had the first naval troop of India.
Absolutely. No, and I mean, it's going back to the Indic heritage. I have no idea why we had the cross, the King George's Cross, even with the national emblem. I mean, we didn't need it. So it's a good, I mean, I'm not a serving officer, so that's why I would defer to the opinion of a serving officer on this. But just as a layperson, as someone who's, very proud, is a proud Indian, and, looks at these symbols as I think this is more representative of our heritage than the King George's Cross. That's my opinion, at least. But Manan bhai, any closing thoughts before we wrap up today?
See, the commissioning of INS Vikrant is the pinnacle of news today. This memory will remain etched in my heart forever. But the flag and the message on the Shivaji Raj Mudra, let me rehearse it. Pratipat Chandra Lekhev Vardishnu Vishwavandita Shahasuno Shiveshya Mudra Bhadraya Rajate. So प्रतिपदा के चंद्रमा की तरह बढ़ने वाली और पूरे विश्व में वंदनीय शाहू जी महाराज के पुत्र थे, शिवाजी की यह मुद्रा लोक कल्याण के लिए विराजमान है। वर्धिष्णु एक ये बहुत बड़ी बात है कि उस समय इट्स अ वेरी मैटर ऑफ ह्यूज प्राउड कि व्हेन every Raj Mudra every coin was written in Farsi, Shivaji dared and brave to emboss his coin, his Rajya coin, Raj Mudra in Sanskrita. So to taking the legacy ahead, we have the Shivaji Raj Mudra in the naval ensign, and every person looking at the ensign, every person saluting the ensign will feel proud of the Indic heritage. It is the most important thing, and it will this legacy will remain forever and ever.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up, I want to recommend Manan bhai's book, The Balakot Airstrike, How India Avenged Pulwama. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. We've actually had a discussion on this on Mindmakers, so you can go back. I will post the links to that podcast and the Amazon link to buy the book if you so wish. One thing I want to leave you with, and I'm sure as a naval officer, Manan bhai will think that movie was completely over the top, but I want to give people the context, right? So there was a movie called the Ghazi Attack, essentially, which was based on the 1971 war, and it was based on what INS Rajput did, and it prevented PNS Ghazi from attacking INS Vikrant. The INS Vikrant that we were talking about is that INS Vikrant referred in the movie. Watch the movie, if you may say, and I don't think it fully does justice to what the Navy officers did. It's still a good movie. I think it still does well, but I think what the Navy officers did in 1971 was even above and beyond what the movie showed. But which is a lot of Indian agents, a lot of Indian spies, a lot of Indian commanders, gave their lives, gave their time, sacrificed their blood to make sure INS Vikrant was safe. And it seems like those glorious days are coming back again, with its being commissioned under a different engineering, I would say the same name, the same valor, the same spirit, but a different, machine, a very indigenous machine, and a machine that India can be proud of. So, with that, thank you so much for joining, Manan bhai. This has been a fantastic discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Please like, share, subscribe, follow him on Twitter. Write to him what do you think. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer on Twitter as well. If you have any questions, write to us. Maybe we'll do a follow-up podcast and do a follow-up discussion of that. Till then, it's goodbye, and we'll be back next week with more. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manan bhai. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.